What if one man's refusal to follow the rules turned a desperate defensive stand into the deadliest tail gunner performance of the war, firing at ranges no one thought possible, claiming kills that stunned even his own crew? On July 30th, 1943, at approximately 10:30 a.m. over central Germany, Staff Sergeant Michael Aruth, tail gunner aboard the B-17 Flying Fortress Tondaleo, peered through his twin .50 caliber Browning machine guns as waves of German fighters closed in. Deformation, part of 186 B-17s, targeting aircraft factories in Kassel, faced over 300 Luftwaffe interceptors. Aruth ignored every training manual. Instead of waiting for fighters to close to 200 to 300 yards, he opened fire at 700 yards, long before standard doctrine allowed. Tracers arced out. Explosions bloomed in the sky. By mission's end, claims circulated that his guns accounted for an extraordinary number of enemy aircraft, a figure that grew in retellings, but stood as one of the war's most debated aerial feats. This moment matters because it captured the raw desperation of unescorted daylight bombing in mid-1943. 8th Air Force. B-17s flew deep into Germany without long-range fighter protection. P-47 Thunderbolts lacked the range, leaving bombers exposed to swarms of Messerschmitt Bf-199s and Focke-Wulf FW-190s. Aruth's approach, starting fire early to disrupt attacks, defied regulations but exploited the .50 Schalibas' effective range and his skill as a marksman. He later explained simply, waiting meant death. Striking first gave a chance. The Kassel mission saw heavy losses, dozens of B-17s downed, crews bailing or perishing. Yet Tondaleo limped home, ballast guard but intact. Aruth, a 23-year-old from Massachusetts, had honed his aim through practice. His secret was patience and precision at distance. As fighters dove head-on, or from 6 o'clock, he tracked, led, fired bursts, claiming multiple strikes. Crewmates witnessed wings folding, fires erupting. The bomber shuddered from hits, oxygen lines severed, engines damaged, but Aruth kept firing, his position exposed in the tail. The secret weapon wasn't new technology, just unorthodox tactics and a weapon everyone carried.
Keep it steady! More ammo!
Twin 50s and a Sperry Ball turret-like tail mount. Yet his results sparked ire and debate. How many were truly downed by him alone? The event highlighted tail gunners' vulnerability and heroism, last line of defense, often first targeted. Aruth survived the war, decorated, but the day's intensity left scars. It showed how individual defiance of norms could turn defense into offense amid overwhelming odds. The July 30th, 1943, mission to Kassel occurred during the 8th Air Force's early deep-penetration raids into Germany, when daylight precision bombing faced its harshest tests. By mid-1943, the U.S. Army Air Forces had built up strength in England, but long-range escort fighters remained limited. P-47s could only accompany bombers partway. Beyond that, B-17s relied on tight formations, high altitude around 25,000 feet, and their own defensive armament, up to 13.50 caliber machine guns and powered turrets, including the tails, twin guns. Kassel housed Fieseler Aircraft Works and other targets vital to German production. The 1st Bomb Division dispatched 186 B-17s. Tondaleo 4238050 flew with 379th Bomb Group. No fighter escort reached the target area. Luftwaffe response was fierce. JG-1, JG-11, JG-26 among units scrambled. Fighters used head-on attacks to minimize exposure to bomber guns, then swung for tail pursuits. Tail gunners, like Aruth, manned the most exposed position. The Sperry remote turret with 2 and M2.50 caliber machine guns, 500 to 600 rounds per gun. Effective range up to 1,000 yards, but trained optimal at 200 to 300. Doctrine emphasized short bursts to conserve ammo and avoid overheating. Aruth's method, long-range fire to break up attacks early. Risked wasting rounds but disrupted fighter runs before they closed. The mission unfolded under clear skies. Flak burst at altitude. Fighters swarmed. Formations tightened for mutual support. Stragglers fell easy prey. Tondaleo took hits. Engines damaged. Fuselage perforated, but stayed in formation. Aruth tracked incoming Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs, firing at extended range. Crew reported multiple enemy aircraft trailing smoke or exploding after his bursts. Why? Why important? Mid-1943 raids like Kassil exposed daylight bombing's high cost before long-range escorts P-51 Mustangs arrived in early 1944. Losses mounted. Crews completed 25 mission tours against steep odds. Aruth's performance, whether 3, 5, or higher credited kills, exemplified gunner resolve. Tail gunners suffered high casualties. Their stand bought time for bombers to drop payloads. Aruth flew more missions, survived, received DFC. The 17 planes figure appears in popular retellings, but lacks official confirmation as a single mission total. Group claims shared, verification difficult. It symbolizes individual impact and collective struggle, one gunner's choices amid chaos. The Kossel raid contributed to wearing down Luftwaffe's strength, though at heavy price. It set stage 4 later escorted raids that shifted air superiority. July 30th, 1943, 6 a.m. local time. Ref Kimbleton Airfield, England. The 379th Bomb Group's briefing room filled with tension as crews learned the target. Fiesler Aircraft Works and Engine Factories in Kassel, deep in central Germany. Tondaleo, AB 17G, Flying Fortress Serial 4238 050, assigned to the 527th Bomb Squadron, taxied out with 185 other B-17s. Pilot Captain John C. Jack Watson eased the 4-ride R-1820 engines to take off power. The heavily loaded bomber lifted off into gray dawn. Tail gunner Staff Sergeant Michael Aruth, 23, settled into his cramped compartment at the extreme rear. Twin .5 caliber Brownings mounted in the Sperry electrically powered turret. He checked ammo belts, oxygen mask, heated suit, everything ready for the long haul. The formation climbed to 25,000 feet over the North Sea. Combat boxers tight for mutual defense. No long-range escort fighters accompanied them. P-47 Thunderbolts would turn back at the German border. Aruth peered through his armored glass, scanning the 6 o'clock position. He had already decided to ignore doctrine. Standard gunnery training called for opening fire at 200 to 300 yards, conserving ammunition and avoiding barrel overheating. Aruth planned to start at 700 yards or more long-range bursts to disrupt fighter approaches before they closed for lethal head-on or tail attacks. By 9:30 a.m., the bombers crossed the Dutch coast. Flak began bursting in black puffs. 88mm shells exploded below and around the formation. Fighters appeared: Messerschmitt, Bf-109s, and Focke-Wulf FW-190s from JG-1 and JG-11s swarming in waves. Aruth tracked the first group closing from astern at 700 yards. He squeezed the triggers. Twin 50s roared, tracers streaking out in long arcs. A Bf-109 banked sharply, smoke trailing from its engine. It rolled inverted and fell away. Crew! Intercom crackled. Tail 2. Crew. Got 1. Attacks intensified. Fighters dove head-on. 20mm cannon shells ripping through wings and fuselage. Tondaleo shuddered from hits. Number 3 engine coughed. Oil pressure dropping. Aruth swung his turret, leading another FW-190 as it pulled up for a tail shot. He fired again at extended range bursts of 5 to 7 rounds. The fighter exploded in midair. Debris tumbled past. Aruth's method worked. Starting early forced pilots to break off sooner, reducing accurate fire on the bomber. Mid-mission, near Cassel, the formation endured its heaviest assault. Over 300 interceptors pressed in relays. Aruth's guns stayed hot. Barrows glowed faintly. He conserved ammo by firing short, aimed bursts only when the target filled his sight picture. Waist gunners in Bolt Hood reported multiple strikes after his tracers found marks. One BF-109 attempted a low pass under the tail. Aruth depressed the guns, fired downward, wing folded. Plane spun into the ground. Twists mounted. Tondoloyo lost altitude after flak damage, straggling slightly. It drew concentrated attacks. Aruth's position became primary target. Shells punched through tail surfaces, shattering plexiglass, wounding him lightly in the arm. Blood soaked his sleeve, but he kept firing. Oxygen mask fogged. He cleared it with one hand, maintained aim. Crew reported fires in engines. Watson feathered number 3, pushed the others to maximum. Heroics unfolded quietly. Aruth reloaded belts under fire, ignoring pain. Bolt turret gunner called out threats. Aruth coordinated fire arcs to cover blind spots. No one panicked. Discipline held. Losses mounted around them. Other B-17s fell in flames. Parachutes bloomed. Some crews never escaped. Tondoloyo absorbed hits fuselage, perforated, radio damaged, hydraulic lines leaking but stayed airborne. Bombs away over Cassel at 10:45 a.m. Formation turned for home. Fighters pursued relentlessly. Aruth claimed more as they withdrew. A BF-109 trailing fire after his burst. An FW-190 cartwheeling after wing root strike. By the time P-47 escorts met them over the North Sea, the bomber was riddled, 2 engines out, controls sluggish. Aruth's guns fell silent only when ammo ran low and threats diminished. Emergency landing at a coastal strip in England, wheels down, brakes smoking. Ground crew swarmed, medics treated wounds. Aruth climbed out last, arm bandaged, face streaked with oil and sweat. The aircraft was declared repairable but heavily damaged. Crew debriefed. Aruth credited with multiple confirmed kills, though exact number debated in logs. Group claims shared. Verification challenging amid chaos. Technology key. Twin N. Twin N. M2.50 caliber machine guns. 12.7 millimeters. 600 rounds per gun. 850 rounds per minute cyclic rate. Effective range extended by Aruth's skill and longer bursts. B-17G's defensive layout shy intel turret with improved sighting helped. No exotic secret weapon. Only unorthodox range and precise leading. The mission cost the 8th Air Force heavily dozens lost, but Tondoloyo survived. Aruth flew on, completed his tour, received the Distinguished Flying Cross. High over Cassel, at approximately 10:45 a.m. on July 30th, 1943, as Tondoloyo released its bomb load and banked into the wide turn for home. The formation had already lost coherent stragglers, burning parachutes, drifting like white flowers against the blue sky. German fighters, sensing weakness, pressed their attacks with renewed fury. Messerschmitt Bf-109s and Focke-Wulf FW-190s dove in relays from 6 o'clock high and low, 20mm cannons flashing. Tondoloyo took punishing hits. Number 2 engine caught fire, trailing black smoke. The tail section shuddered as shells tore through the rudder and elevators. Aruth's compartment filled with the acrid smell of cordite and burning oil. Shrapnel pinged off his armored seat. A fragment grazed his cheek, drawing blood that mixed with sweat under his oxygen mask. Aruth swung his twin .50 caliber guns through their full arc, tracking a pair of FW-190s closing fast. At 600 yards, he opened fire long, deliberate bursts that reached farther than doctrine allowed. The lead fighter's wing root erupted in flames. It rolled left and plunged earthward. The second broke off, but Aruth shifted to a climbing Bf-109 that had slipped under the tail. He depressed the guns sharply, tracers stitching across the canopy. The Messerschmitt exploded in a bright fireball, debris rattling against Tondeleo's skin like hail. Crew voices overlapped on intercom. "Tail good hit. Watcher 6. Mike." Aruth's arms burned from recoil. Barrels glowed cherry red, but he reloaded under fire, feeding fresh belts with blood-slick hands. The bomber lost altitude steadily down to 18,000 feet. Engine straining. Watson feathered the burning number 2, pushed the remaining 3 to emergency power. Flak bursts walked closer. Fighters circled like sharks. Aruth's secret tactic firing. Early and often disrupted rhythm. Attackers hesitated, broke sooner, gave the formation fleeting breathing room. Yet the Kos mounted. A 20mm shell punched through the tail, shattering plexiglass around Aruth's head. Glass shards cut his face. Wind howled through the gaps. He kept feeding, leading another FW-190 as it pulled up for a tail shot. Short burst wing, folded, plane spun. Aruth claimed it silently. No celebration, only grim focus. Twists came relentlessly. A Bf-109 slipped through the formation's blind spot, raking Tondileo from nose to tail. The bowl turret gunner called out hits. Waist gunners returned fire. Aruth swung to cover, but his left gun jammed overheated barrel seized. He cleared it frantically, pounding the receiver, while the right gun kept blazing. The fighter veered away trailing smoke. Aruth's oxygen line severed. He switched to emergency bottle, vision tunneling from hypoxia and blood loss. Still, he tracked, fired, adjusted each burst to gamble against ammo depletion. As the formation crossed back into friendly airspace near the Dutch border, P-47 Thunderbolts finally arrived, scattering the last pursuers. Tondelayo limped on to engines windmilling. Controls heavy. Aruth's guns fell silent only when the final fighter turned away. He slumped in his seat, exhausted, watching the North Sea slide below. Resolution came slowly. Tondelayo made an emergency landing at a forward strip in southern England around 14 o'clock. Wheels touched grass, the bomber slewed, skidded to a halt in dust and smoke. Ground crews rushed in. Medics pulled Aruth from the tailface cut, arm bleeding, but alive. The aircraft was towed away, too damaged for quick repair. Debriefing followed. Crew reported multiple enemy aircraft downed after Aruth's long-range fire. Official claims credited the group with several victories, shared among gunners. Aruth received personal confirmation of at least 3 to 5 in logs, though wartime verification relied on wingman sightings and Gun Kamira, film often incomplete. Aruth completed his 25 mission tour later that year, received the Distinguished Flying Cross for valor under fire. He returned stateside, lived quietly afterward. The 17 planes figure emerged in post-war retellings, popular accounts, interviews, and viral stories, but official records never listed such a single mission total for any gunner. It grew as legend, symbolizing the desperate ingenuity of men defending unescorted bombers in 1943's darkest months. The lesson was stark. In the absence of escorts, survival hinged on individual choices breaking rules when rules meant death. Aruth's long-range fire bought seconds, disrupted attacks, preserved the bomber. No grand strategy, only a tail gunner's resolve amid chaos. The Kassel mission cost the 8th Air Force dearly Oberbane to B-17's lost, but it contributed to wearing down Luftwaffe's strength. Aruth's stand, exaggerated or not, reminded that even in overwhelming odds, one man's decision could tip the balance for his crew. The war moved on. Escorts arrived. Losses fell. Yet that July day lingered as a quiet testament to endurance, when every second mattered. Reflecting on July 30th, 1943, the Castle mission reveals the brutal arithmetic of aerial warfare in its darkest phase. A single B-17, riddled with holes, engines failing, crew wounded, limped home through skies thick with fighters. One tail gunner, Michael LaRuth, chose to rewrite the rules firing at distances doctrine called impossible, turning defense into disruption. Whether the claims reached single digits or grew in reach, his actions bought precious seconds for the bomber to stay aloft. 4 bombs to fall on target, for comrades to survive. The day cost dearly. Dozens of B-17s lost, hundreds of airmen killed or captured, yet Tondaleo endured, its tail guns silent only when threats faded. LaRuth's choice highlighted human agency amid machinery of destructive skill, nerve, defiance of convention. No exotic device, just twin .50 calibers, steady hands, and the will to act first. The mission exposed daylight bombing's fragility before long-range escorts arrived. Losses forced change. P-51 Mustangs soon flew deep, shifting air superiority. But on that summer day, survival hung on individual resolve. LaRuth completed his tour, received the Distinguished Flying Cross, lived on. The secret weapon was never technology alone. It was the quiet decision to fight on one's own terms. Today the story reminds us, war's outcome often rests on unseen moments. A gunner tracking through smoke, squeezing triggers at range no one expected. It teaches endurance under fire, the power of adaptation when odds overwhelm. In memory, we see not just metal and tracers, but the human cost lives balanced on split-second choices. Courage, persisting when everything else faltered. LaRuth's stand, exaggerated or not, endures as testament to resilience in the face of relentless attack. We have written the sources from which we got this story in the description of this video, and we have always been and will be supporters of the oppressed, regardless of their color, race, or country. This world and its creator are also with the oppressed. Like if this World War II tail gunner story gripped you. Comment your thoughts. What surprises you most about LaRuth's long-range firing? Subscribe WWII Focused for more forgotten World War II missions and untold bravery. See you in the next W2 story.